Oh hi, Olale from Onetutor. I was trying to get charged with these cable because I need a lot of energy for today's lesson, but I'll do it a little bit later. To charge means to give power to give power to. So if the battery of your telephone was a bit low, you might have to charge it at some point in order to give it more battery power. Can we say it together, everybody? Charge, charge, charger, charger. You might need to charge your telephone with a charger. In today's video, we're going to be having a look at some advanced vocabulary you might need to use when you talk about electric cars, or perhaps when you hear on the news what the government is doing with regards to electric cars, in order for you to fully understand what the vocabulary means. This lesson would help you to grasp, to understand vocabularies that are related to electric cars. Or perhaps when you want to talk with a colleague, or perhaps with a friend, or perhaps you want to talk with some other people you know or you don't know, you might have to use vocabularies that are related to electric cars. Don't go away, I'll be right back. Sometimes we need to get to a place at a certain time. Let's assume you're going to the office or you're going somewhere and you are running a bit late. You will have to run sometimes because so that you're not late to get to that place. So the need to be on time has made you run. Likewise, when we talk about government, we can say that, and you want to talk about, the fact that the government has had to do something quickly because of a certain thing. So the devastating effect on the environment has made the government do a certain thing. So you could say that the devastating effect on the environment has sped up the need for a certain law, has sped up the need for a certain measure. So you could say speed up. Can we say it together, everybody? Speed up, speed up. Or you can simply say lead to, lead to. Together, everybody, lead to. So you can say the negative impact of a certain thing. In this case, we're talking about electric cars. So you can say the negative impact of certain cars has led to the introduction of electric cars. So you can say led to, or lead to. So you can simply say it's the same thing, but we have lead and led. So you can simply say the introduction of the electric cars is as a result of a certain thing. So you can say the government has had to introduce electric cars, or you can say the consequences on the environment has led to the introduction of electric cars. You can also say prompted. Together, everybody, prompted. So you can say that the negative impact on the environment has prompted the government to do a certain thing, or has prompted an institution, a certain company to do a certain thing. So you can say prompted. Together, one more time, everyone, prompted. Prompted. You can also say, just like I was running earlier, because I showed you an example of when a person is late. When you're running late, you might have to run sometimes. So you can also use hasten. Hasten. Can we say it together, everybody? Hasten. Hasten simply means that you are in a hurry. Something has made you run. You've been able to run because you want to do something, or something you are thinking about doing something, of course, so you need to hurry to do that thing. So you can say what has hastened the government to do a certain thing, or you can say that the situation of the environment has made the government, has hastened the government to do a certain thing, to take a certain measure, and much more. So can we say it together, everybody? Hasten. Hasten. You can also say quicken. Quicken. So you can simply say, when you want to give your opinion, so you can say, well, I believe the government should quicken itself in order to solve the problem that is related to the environment by the introduction of electric cars and much more. So you can say quicken, quicken. You can say hasten, hasten. You can say prompted, prompted. You can say lead to, lead to. And you can of course say speed up, speed up. Imagine being in a game of football and you have an opponent that has the ball. An opponent is a team that you play against. If you are in team A and you have your opponent, which is the team B. So of course, a player in the team B has the ball. So the player in the other team is your opponent. Can we say it together, everybody? Opponent. So when you're trying to get the ball, when you're trying to get the ball from your opponent, you're trying to tackle your opponent. Can we say it together, everybody? Tackle. So in this case, if you've been asked the question, how do you think the government can solve the problem related to the environment? What do you think is an effective way to resolve a certain problem related to the environment? And of course, you want to talk about electric cars, you want to talk about certain laws, and so on, or a measure, You can simply say, I believe that to tackle the problem related to the environment, the government must do, or perhaps some certain companies must do, certain thing, or perhaps people must do certain thing. But we're talking about the introduction, or we're talking about electric cars. So you should say something related to electric cars and what you think the government should do, or certain organizations, institutions, and so on should do. But you should say to solve the problem. So to solve the problem, you can simply say to tackle. To tackle. You can also say to combat. To combat. So you can say to combat the problem. I'd say that if we had, so you can say to combat the problem, I would say that we should have. So it will depend on what you want to suggest or give as an opinion with regards to electric cars. You can also say to clamp down on. To clamp down on. Can we say it together, everybody? Clamp down on. So you can say, I'd say, in order for the government to clamp down on certain organizations or perhaps certain people, or to stop certain things or certain actions that are destroying the environment. So you can simply say, clamp down on. Clamp down on. You can also say to deal with. I'd say to deal with. So you've been asked the question, what's the best way, in your perspective, what's the best way to resolve the problem that is related to the problems related to the environment? How can we stop the environment from further degeneration? To degenerate means to become worse. So perhaps we have a problem like these, and the problem is becoming worse. So that's degeneration. To degenerate. So you can say, in order to deal with the problem, I'd say that. I'd say that. So now you give your opinion or your idea of the most effective way to resolve the problem. You can also say to handle. To handle. Remember, when you want to open the door, sometimes you might use a handle. You might use a handle to open the door. Perhaps it might help you to remember the vocabulary to handle. So you can say, in order to effectively handle the problem, I'd say that the government should do a certain thing, or put in place a certain measure. So you can say to handle. To handle. You can also say to safeguard. Can we say it together, everybody? Safeguard. Safeguard means to protect. To protect. So you can say, in order to safeguard the environment from further degeneration, I'd say that perhaps the introduction of, now you can come up with your own idea of what the best way could be. You can also say to shield. To shield. To shield means to protect. To protect. So you are protecting someone. You're protecting the environment. So you can say in order to fully protect and say that. So can we just repeat all the words together, everyone? So we have the word tackle, tackle, combat, combat, clamp down on, deal with, handle, handle, safeguard, safeguard, and shield. So now you want to talk about coming up with a law as a good way to solve a certain problem, or perhaps a measure might help to solve a certain problem. So you can simply say that if the government enacted a certain law, it might help. Can we say it together, everybody? To enact. To enact. To enact simply means to make. To make. You can simply say, well, the government makes a certain law, or perhaps the government enacts a certain law. It might help. And now you can fill in, the rest with your own idea. We can also say to put in place. To put in place. So you can say if the government puts in place a certain law, I'm sure it will help make the situation a lot better. So we can simply say to put in place, or you can say, well, the government has, or perhaps you've heard on the news, or perhaps you've read on the newspaper and much more. You can also read or hear that the government has put in place a certain law. So to put in place means to make. It's available. So of course now it's effective. The law is working now. It's there. So we can also say to put in place. We can also say the law has come into being. The law has come into being. So you can either say, oh, I think the government, if the law came into being, it might help the environment. It might help us resolve a lot of problems. It might help us to tackle a lot of problems. You can also say if a law comes into force. If a law comes into force, which simply means if a law becomes available, it would help. It would help the environment. It would help the environment. So you can use all these to say that if the government makes the law, if the law is available, if the law becomes operational, it would help the environment. Thanks for watching today's video, everyone. I hope you've been able to learn one or two vocabulary from the video. Remember to leave comments in the comment section if you have questions about the content of the video. Remember to look out for the next part of the video that will help you take your English to the very top. Thanks again, and I'll see you at the next one.